Hi, I'm Rachel Matthew. I'm a project manager and I work for Michelsen Tech Connect.
Hi there, Linda Michelsen. I am the VP of Operations and a co-founder of Realty Connection.
Awesome. Well, listen, recruiting is one of those pain points that I think if you can recruit better, it solves a lot of problems in the brokerage industry. So I've known a lot of brokers that are challenged here, so I want to dig deep and get some ideas. So from a tech side, let's talk about some of the technologies first. Why do you think, what's the biggest challenge you first see in brokerages and the recruiting process? So biggest challenges, once you start with
I think probably the biggest challenges are that there's so many tools, and there's a lot of tools available to you that are not cohesively linked. So you're talking about you've got a CRM and you've got opportunities all over the place that are not intertwined, and so if they're not linking, you may find that you have some difficulty.
So too much fragmentation on the products.
Absolutely.
For everything together.
Absolutely. We definitely found that within our own company.
Good.
That we started out and we were creating leads, but if you don't have any way to manage them, how does that work?
Right. What do you think, Rob?
I agree with Linda. Definitely, there's so much out there that people feel inundated with all of that information. And then I think that's definitely the biggest challenge. And the second one is just leveraging the tool that you've invested into its full potential. I think that's one of the biggest challenges with technology that brokers face today.
Yeah, and David, you might give a different spin on this too, as far as not just tech challenges. What are the real broker challenges too from the grassroots of it?
I think one of the issues I'd like to see tackled is the fact that there's nothing to help you manage the process, the life cycle of an employee, from the time you start recruiting until you take them all the way through. They're going to change roles with you potentially over the years, and I've never seen a tech tool that really enables you to do the recruiting and then manage that life cycle and that development over time.
Yeah, and I think beyond tech too, which we'll talk about some other questions. I think the hardest part, just my end, is thinking, the actual doing process, the time commitment to do it, to sit and do it, the commitment to do it. It takes a long time. What tech products have you seen that are helping solve some solutions? So let's say social media wise. What are some good social tools? And I know you're in the business, so this is hard for you. This is your business. This is what you do. But take yourself out of your business. Think about from a real problem and a solution. What's some good social media solutions that brokerage can use that's going to help them recruit more agents, build more relationships?
Well, I think there's a lot of great products out there. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to name names, but...
Well, they're names that are products.
Awesome. I've worked with Likeable Local. I know Hootsuite. There's several products that are going to integrate all of your social media, so you're not spending all day posting everywhere.
What was the first one?
Likeable Local.
Oh, Likeable Local.
They're out in New York City.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Mm-hmm. Social platforms that you think make a difference.
Facebook advertising, I think definitely top of the list. You can get a bigger reach for less marketing dollars that you have to spend, a lot more impressions with Facebook advertising. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest ways you can reach.
Can you go deeper on the Facebook advertising? Can you go into types of ads, maybe, or any of you jump in by the chance? What types of ads work in targeting, retargeting? Give me something more than ads.
Right, I think retargeting today is definitely, and you can use AdWords. There's a whole bunch of vendors out there doing retargeting. There's a stat that when someone visits your site, there's about 2% that convert the first time.
Yep.
So retargeting will help you get the other 98%, which is very effective.
Yeah, and I've also just seen AdWorks do some stuff with retargeting Sphere and people like that. So you can target real specific people by email address, I think, too.
Exactly. So you can do very specifics with retargeting. You can target people based on if they've looked at luxury homes, if they're looking at foreclosures, and obviously you don't want to retarget people that have already come through the funnel and converted.
Yeah.
So you have to be, there's the best practices with retargeting and that you want to always use.
Yeah, David, your thoughts on social?
Monster.com also has a pretty interesting tool out there that allows you to really specifically target who you're looking for rather than just kind of a spray and pray method.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that with your marketing. You really shouldn't do it with your recruiting dollars either. So that's one tool that I'm aware of. And I think social gives you the ability to tap into folks in a dynamic way that maybe the resume doesn't. So I would certainly encourage. I'm sure a lot of people are doing that already, but certainly as many tools as possible to kind of just get a read on what's happening out there.
Yeah, and is your platform going to be? Do you offer those types of tools or systems internally? The activating platform, you're a neutral.
Yeah, we're a neutral party. one of the platforms that we've actually used pretty effectively is ZipRecruiter as well.
ZipRecruiter?
ZipRecruiter, yeah.
ZipRecruiter.
Yeah, that's a good platform that gives you the opportunity. One of our issues is sort of managing the process of the process.
Okay.
Remembering to get a follow-up with X person and where they are in the sales cycle. It's
Right.
no different than any other sales management tool. So that's a great tool. The resume database on there is also pretty good because Glenn Ross, always be closing, always be hiring, always be recruiting, right?
Do you see anybody effectively using simply Facebook lists to stay connected with people? Are you seeing agents and brokers leveraging it, or they don't know enough about it? Because I think lists are really important to put your group together and just kind of stay connected to them. Are you guys seeing them using that, or do they need education on that kind of stuff?
I think everybody needs some education because
Yeah.
it's not that easy. You get into the back end and think, okay, I have no idea how to get this done. I know that was my experience right out of the gate, but you can definitely work with lists. I mean, anywhere that you've been at a venue like this where you're bringing in lots of business cards, make a list and target them because these are obviously people in your
sphere.
In your sphere, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what's the big disconnect you see between the systems that are out there? I mean, we got tons of systems. Everyone's trying to get sold something. So what's the big disconnect between that and the brokerage? What are the big objections brokers are having trying to adopt this stuff besides just learning it? Is it price? Is it expensive? Is it just it's something new they have to learn? What are your thoughts?
I think it's all of the above.
All the above.
Absolutely, and simplicity. Because if it's too time-consuming, managing brokers are super busy, or anybody that's recruiting is super busy. But brokers, particularly, they've got minutes and every deal doctoring and all of that going on. So if it's not something they can get in there, they can use, they can be effective and be efficient, I think that you'll probably lose them.
Yeah. What about you, Raj?
In terms of recruiting, I think one of the biggest disconnects we see with technology and the broker is not really understanding how to effectively use analytics, I think. Because with all of this technology, I mean, big data is old news. We have so much data, and you get analytics, be it if you're using Facebook advertisement, if you're using SkySlope, broker metrics, whatever the tool you may be using with technology, there's so much analytics that you get.
Right.
But if you don't know how to understand and if you don't familiarize yourself with those various data points, it's hard to convert those and make informed decisions next time about your recruiting. So I would definitely encourage people to understand, take the time, if need be, go sit down with an expert and walk through some of the analytics that you've been getting to make better recruiting hires, make informed decisions on where to put your money at.
Yeah, I think I hear so many people talking about broker metrics, but I think you're right. They don't leverage that platform the way it should be. I don't think, just like most products, sometimes you don't use more than 10% of what's available to you, and you're barely at that. I think those are probably one of the biggest problems you got. I mean, David, any other thoughts of disconnect of broker?
I can only speak from my experience. One of the disconnects for us has been that of potential. There's a guy out there named Claudio Fernandez Arreos. I just butchered his name. He works for Egon Zehnder, and it is one of the best recruiting firms in the world. He wrote a book called "It's Not the How or the What, but the Who." Go look at that book. He wrote an article that he put in Harvard Business Review in June of 2014. I'll tweet this out if anyone wants to link to it. Read that article. I have told everyone about it. What he talks about is the fact that business is moving so fast today. Things are changing so fast that there's no opportunity for you to really, you can put a person in a job for a specific issue. What you can't do is scale for potential. And so for me, I think a big disconnect is how do I find people with potential, right? How do I find people that I'm going to, again, over the life cycle and their time with us, how do we develop them? I have a friend that worked for Anheuser-Busch, and one of the things on his review at the executive level was he had to give his folks opportunity to advance.
Yeah.
And if he didn't do that, his review was, he wasn't succeeding, right? That's his job. I think that's everyone's job.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really great little takeaway.
Thanks, and I think there's a big difference between recruiting just bodies and recruiting talent. Because
Absolutely.
There's a big mixture of who's productive or not. There should no longer be a cold call today. I mean, nothing. I don't care if you're an agent cold call. You shouldn't be. What resources help solve the cold calling problem? Besides, we got LinkedIn and some other stuff. Can we dive deeper than that for resources? Wherever you want to start.
Absolutely.
Dig deeper.
Well, what we found with Realty Connection was, again, we were generating leads, which was awesome. But we have a relationship with Broker Metrics,
Okay.
so we do have that data integrated into our site. So a managing broker can actually go in, pull a targeted list of agents to reach out to. Having the data is really ultra critical. And then, you know, they have talking points. They have a reason to be contacting this agent to say, hey, I noticed you have a listing in my area, stop by my office, that kind of thing. I think just having that additional information is just really super important and helpful in the process.
Sure. Roger.
I've actually heard of something very neat that can help with cold calling. I haven't used it myself, but I know some of our brokers who've used it, and it's called slide broadcast. And essentially what this does is broadcasts audio messages directly to your contact list that you want to reach to their voicemail. So essentially what it does, it's 4 simple steps, I guess. You record the audio message, you pick a date and time you want to send it to, you upload your contact list, and it will send it directly to their voicemail. So without their phone ringing, all of a sudden I guess they're going to notice, oh hey, I have a voicemail. So I think this just makes the manual effort of having to call each one, and you know, brokers and agents are really busy, so they're not always going to pick up their phone, and you reach their voicemail anyway, so it cuts that manual process of having to call 50 people a day and do this with 4 clicks, which I thought was a really neat idea.
Cool.
So that could really help
So
make
it
cold
was
calls work.
called Slide
Broadcast.
Slide Broadcast, which I remember Slide Dial.
Right.
Same company.
Yes.
Slide Broadcast. Okay, cool. There's a few other cool tools. How about yourself?
This is
Cold calling.
This is probably decidedly non-technical, so I apologize for that. We did a pilot program with our local university, and the MBA students are always looking for a project that they can do, right? So connecting with our university was one thing that was pretty important for us. We also got undergrad level folks to help us through certain projects. So it's not a tech answer.
Yeah,
but you know, still kind of, I'm a big believer that, I mean, tech is only going to go so far, and there's a point at which you just kind of have to take the time, do the work, you know, go through the process, work the process. We also follow something called Recruit Select. There's a lot of Keller Williams agents here, so we use that same side on the same tool on the tech side. We just hired a CFO for the Ben Kinney companies over the whole umbrella. We checked 40 references for this guy, right? We knew his life story. We practically talked to his kindergarten teacher. So we knew a lot about him.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, is there, you know, technologies that go down the path of let's understand the person first. We know their data. Just because they're a producer doesn't mean they're a good recruit, possibly. So any thoughts on...
Have you heard of Crystal Knows?
Crystal Knows.
Yes.
I do know Crystal Knows.
Right, I mean...
Talk about it. You know Crystal Knows?
I looked it up a little bit recently. So yeah, Crystal Knows. Have you guys heard of Crystal Knows?
It's pretty scary. It's pretty, jot that one down, Crystal Knows.
Right, so essentially what Crystal Knows does is it's a website and it's an application. You can go and put in an email address of someone you want to know more about. So what it does is goes and scours their online social profile, and it will send you a report in 2 hours about how you can better communicate with them. And it is argued, and this is very borderline creepy, because it will tell you how they like to be emailed, how they like to speak over the phone, and just, I mean, it makes your initial meeting with them, if you've never met them before, very impactful. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Crystal Knows, Knows.
I've tried.
Yeah.
You guys try that on my chance? I did.
Interesting.
It was about 70% accurate. It takes a spin off the disc profile. And it kind of gives you that feel of how to deal with them. If you're going to have lunch with them, it tells you what you should be doing for lunch. So it could be a little bit creepy, but that's a great personalized tip. Do you have something personal?
Yeah, we also use something called the AVA, the Activity Vector Analysis. It's similar to the DISC profile, but it also gives you an idea. It's really more about me as a boss or as a supervisor to help me understand what's the right way to communicate with this person, right? So when we do these, very often I'll sit down with the employee and then I'll give them, you know, mine and say, this is what kind of jerk I am. You know, this is what it's going to be like to work with me. Don't give me details. You know, I don't want to know the details, right? That's what you need to know about me, and vice versa. So that's a great tool, and it helps you look for those patterns, which I think is super important. That's where technology can kind of be your friend.
Yeah.
For patterns.
How about on your platform, connecting with the agents? What do you think the best way to get personal with is? Is it a social platform, or is it SMS, or is it?
You know, I think getting personal is all about getting personal. I mean, we are connecting brokers with agents who are considering their options, so we give them the platform to actually reach out to them, whether it's directly, you know, through phone, or they can reach out through our platform via email. And I think there's nothing that will be personal touch. I mean, if you want to talk to them, talk to them.
Yeah. Any unique strategies you've seen brokers do that are outside the box thinking, or something that maybe some of your either customers, brokers, or in the industry have done that you might share? Maybe because you go to the same old open house stuff. Anything unique you're seeing out there you want to share? Just thinking out loud.
I know they're recruiting. Gosh, when they do open houses, they're always, like I said, always be recruiting, always be looking. They're always looking for folks. Ben's general manager for the brokerage side of it, I think she time blocks and spends something like 2 or 3 hours a day actually doing recruiting.
Really?
And there's an hourglass on her desk, and she flips it over. And if she's doing that, beware, stay away, right? You're not allowed to come in. That's what she's doing.
That's right.
And that's one of the reasons we're so good at, I think, hiring and finding the kind of talent that we find, is because we've got people like that that are spending the time. There's no substitute for that.
Right. And I'll come back to, I have something else for you too.
So something that Realty Connection is doing, and not to plug, but just to say that we're following up with the cooperative agents in a transaction. So since we have that data, we know when one of your agents does a deal, we're going to follow up on your behalf with the cooperative agent, which, to reach out to them to say, hey, how did my agent do? Did you think that was, did you think the transaction went well? And would sure love to chat with you about it. Again, creating a dialogue.
You get, because I know sometimes when a broker goes to do the follow-up on the other side, it's perceived as, they're buttering you, have to have a conversation. If it comes from a third party, do you see a decent response from that? Like, are you getting a better response than the typical?
Well, we kind of go about it a little bit differently. It's much more of a soft sell. It's not so much, hey, come in, we'd like to recruit you. It's,
sure.
Hey, was the transaction, did it go well? We care about our own agents.
Yeah.
And so being concerned about our...
So that third party validation might be another angle to get a response,
Correct.
Good or bad.
Absolutely.
You know
what?
it
Open
is.
a dialogue. It's all about making that contact.
Yeah. And I know, Dave, you were talking about from your own position of hiring and recruiting for your own company, there were some different strategies you were kind of going down the path of. Anything, thought process of how you're pursuing that recruiting process of your own organization?
Well, again, everyone thinks they're an expert at recruiting and hiring and this sort of thing. In fact, nobody is. I think it was, I can't remember the consultant's name that said, it was Drucker that said, what, 1/3 of your hiring is going to be successful, 1/3 is going to be dismal, and the other parts are just going to fail. So that gives you a sense of how much turnover you have to work through. I think it just still goes back to always be hiring, always be looking. We're never hiring for a particular job. We're hiring for opportunity. We're looking for potential. We're looking for. And if I find someone out there that just looks like that they're in that place, I'm gonna have a conversation with them. It might take a year before we really find something. There was a guy I heard talk, Eric Weinstein from Pure Capital.
Okay.
He talked about high agency individuals, which is somebody that is going to go around, through, over, whatever. They're going to do anything they can. They don't take no for an answer. Meet someone like that, you want to hire them.
Yeah. Was it your statement or a quote that said something, hire slow, fire fast, or somebody was talking about that?
Yeah,
hire slow, fire fast.
Ben taught me that.
Yeah, hire slow, fire them fast. Get them out, because if you know they're not good now, don't let them dwell into the environment, because then they become the bad culture.
Yep.
If they don't get it, get them out quickly. That's a really good tip. So real quick, just to wrap up, just one good takeaway from the session. If you recommend to a broker the one thing they need to focus on to do more of, and it might be simple, not even technology, what's that one thing? We'll finish up with that.
I would just say personal follow-up.
Personal
Because again, we're still people, and you want to have that communication and be open and have a conversation.
Yeah, so beyond technology systems, stay personal, engage.
I think you touched on this, Jeff. So validation, like you said, is very important. Reviews on your website or on Glassdoor, people are looking, because there's only so much you can talk to recruits and beat your own drum. Be it a trip that you're trying to book or a hotel, you always look at reviews. So if someone's trying to join a new company, moving away from where they are, they're going to look you up. So it's important. We teach our agents to have testimonials from some of the deals they've done. So it's just as important for you as brokers and your websites or Glassdoors to make sure that your culture, the professional work environment there is well received. So I think just the validation from other people that you've recruited before and your employees is essential.
Awesome. David, your last thoughts?
I have 5 seconds, I think.
That's all right, good. Give it to me.
I would say just work the process. Make sure that you've got the discipline built into your time to do this every single day.
I think that's
Don't
right.
wait until you need the person to go try to find them.
Yeah, always be recruiting. I think you need the constant churn. So listen, guys, thank you so much for your time. Great suggestions. Thank you very much. Give them a big hand, everybody. Right. Next is drones. Who are drones fans in the room? Any drone techie geeks in the room? Let's bring out Matt. Come on, Matt. We got Matt Leone from. Yeah, come on. Either way, come on out. What's going on, man? How are you? Pretty good, man. Have a seat. Sit close, man. I took a shower, so I'm good.